A joint is the part of the body where two bones meet to allow for movement. The shape of a joint depends on its function. A joint is also known as an articulation. Immovable joints, also known as fibrous joints. They are joints that do not allow for any movement, and they are held together by fibrous tissue, such as ligaments or tendons. The movement of the joints is simply none. They are designed to be fixed in one position and not supposed to move. A location of one of these joints is in between the sutures of the skull. The joint allows for growth of the skull during childhood, but becomes immovable in your adulthood. Next up is a slightly immovable joint. It's also known as a cartilaginous joint. These joints represent the connection of two bones bound by either hyaline fibro or elastic cartilage. These are typically placed where support and stability are needed. A location where you can find one of these joints is the pubic symphysis, which the joint is located at the front of the pelvis where the left and right pubic bones meet. It allows for small movements such as during childbirth, but otherwise maintains support for the pelvic region. We would only see a 2 mm movement for shock absorption and again for during childbirth. The last on the list is the synovial joint. This is a type of joint characterized by the presence of a fluid-filled capsule called the synovial cavity. This surrounds the bones that form the joint. The fluid in there is called synovial fluid. It acts as a lubricant and decreases friction when the joints are moving against each other. There are 6 types of synovial joints. I will list them now, and we will go into greater detail as the video goes on. Number 1 is the ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivot joint, gliding joint, saddle joint, and conchoid joint. In this clip, you'll see Liam's pivot joint allow him to rotate his elbow medially and laterally to open the door. Now that they're in the gym, we can see Liam and Gregor circumduct their shoulder with the ball and socket joint to warm up for the exercises. Now we can see the ball and socket joint in Gregor's hip allows him to circumduct his leg to warm up for his exercises. Now we can see Gregor abducting his ball and socket joint in his hip away from the midline and then adducting it back to the midline to exercise. In the deadlift, Liam will be flexing his hip as he goes down and extending his hip as he goes up with the ball and socket joint. In this next clip, Liam will be using the same joint as previously mentioned, the pivot joint in his elbow, to rotate his arm as he pulls up the weight. Now we will see Liam performing lateral raises and abducting away from his midline and adducting toward the midline with his ball and socket joint in his shoulder. Now Gregor will be flexing and extending his elbow with the hinge joint to perform a curl. Now we can see Gregor benching, and he is flexing and extending his shoulder with the ball and socket joint to help him perform the exercise. When Liam is doing the tricep pull downs, we can see him flexing and extending his elbow with the hinge joint. Now we can see my saddle joint near my scapula allows me to elevate and depress my shoulders. After the workout is done, it is time to eat, and the hinge joint inside the jaw allows the mandible to depress and elevate to allow you to chew.